Hey friends, Pastor Jason here. Again, this is video 4 in how do I personally go about studying a Bible passage so that I can teach it. And disclaimer again for the 4th time, I'm not doing this because I think I'm the best at this. I'm doing this because people have asked me, how do I go about studying Scripture when I teach it? Again, not going to say that this method is necessary for good Bible study. This is just what I do and how I do it, and the Lord has used me in this way, so I'm hoping to bless those who want to see the process. This is now, again, video 4. Last 2 videos, we've been in Logos. We're going to be in Logos again today. And again, you don't have to own this tool to do Bible study, but it is what I use, and it has been massively, massively helpful. You can see the bookshelf over here. I do have paper copies of commentaries and resource books, but if we're honest, I don't read all of those very often because I've got this. And I have 4,000 books in my Logos library, and they all show up and stand in line when I need particular kinds of resources. So Logos has been super helpful. You can use paper copies of books. I do have paper copies of books that I look at. But even Logos now version 10, if you have the gold package or better, you can tell it what paper books you have. And then when there's a good thing in one of them, it comes up in your Logos search, and it says, hey, go to that book, turn to page number 264, and in the middle of the page on the left-hand side, you'll see what you're looking for. Amazing. So yeah, Logos is just a great tool. Again, this is not a sales pitch, but if you're interested in getting into Logos, they have referral codes that they are using right now. So I have a referral code that I can put in the description of this video, and if you click on that link, it'll take you to the store, and if you buy a Logos package, I think it has to be one of their packages at $300 or higher. You get $100 off that purchase, and I get some free books. So that's cool. But again, this is not a sales pitch. This is about how do you study the Bible. I happen to study the Bible using Logos. So today we're going to be looking at commentaries. I have spent the last 3 stages of Bible study just looking at the text. And I've been looking at the text in a broader scope than I will teach. I'm teaching an excerpt of chapter 65 and an excerpt of chapter 66 because my Bible study, in my home Bible study, is finding Jesus in the Old Testament. That's what I teach. So Jesus shows up in part of 65 and part of 66. But it's dangerous to only study the section that you're going to teach. You want to make sure you understand it in context. So until today, I have been studying the entire chapter 65 and 66 just so I know where things fit in context and am not going to say anything that the text doesn't say. Today I'm going to shift gears. Today I'm going to look specifically at the portions of Scripture that I am going to be teaching. Almost. I'm going to also keep doing some work on that the parable in chapter 66, verses 7 through 11, that I keep saying I'm not quite sure what to do with. Because I'm not quite sure what to do with it, even though I'm not going to teach it, I'm going to include it in what I look at for commentaries. So, what's a commentary? Well, a commentary is any time some educated Bible scholar sort of person has written about how they interpret a passage. So, I'm going back to my passage guide for Isaiah 65 and 66, and we have done these things together, and now I'm going to be in commentaries. And so I have a ton of commentaries, and this list keeps going. These are all scholarly works that contains something on Isaiah 65 and 66. And it is overwhelming, if we're honest. Like, I could never read all of these things. So I have the list sorted by priority, and there are certain series or books that I know that I like, that I have found really helpful. And in my library, I have I made a prioritized list. So you'll see I've got a couple of commentaries here that cover the whole Bible from a conservative, biblical, literal perspective that I enjoy. So these three commentaries, no matter what passage I'm on, they're going to have something on it, and I like what they say. So they're at the top of my list. Then I have a bunch of study Bible notes. So just like I currently read out of the ESV Study Bible, I have study Bibles that are digital, and obviously I don't need the text again, but all of the notes that key off the text I have. So this is the Faith Life Study Bible. This is essentially Logos's study Bible. You get this with Logos, and it's good. It's very good, but it's also a front door to their store. Because this will say, hey, here's some information that's neat. You want to read more about it? Buy this book. And I have fallen prey to that. I've bought quite a few books because I liked the excerpt that was included in the Faith Life Study Bible. But it's good. It's good stuff. And so whether or not it's a front door to a store, it is also good material. NIV Biblical Theology Study Bible. This was edited by D.A. Carson. Like his notes very much. Ancient Faith Study Bible is the study Bible that just looks for patristic fathers, church fathers, so around the Nicene Creed and sooner. And when they preached or taught on a passage, it includes their excerpt there. Love that thing. The Holman Christian Standard Bible study notes for their study Bible are good. Evangelical Bible Commentary. This is another commentary. Now we're getting some other commentaries that I like that I have also included in my priority list, but underneath the study Bibles. The reason that I have some commentaries up and some commentaries down is there's particular tools that will line up your top 5 Bibles or your top 5 commentaries and do some work with those. So I have these top 5 that I want to show up in those tools. And then I've got others that I like. I want them easily found, but not necessarily at the top of the list. Thompson Chain Reference Study Bible was my favorite Bible that I have ever owned personally. It's the Bible that I was given when I went to college, and a gift from my grandparents. And I still use the paper copy. It's right there. But since I have Logos, I've got all of the notes out of that now in Logos, and that's really cool. Anyway, and then more commentaries and more commentaries and more commentaries. Somewhere around here, my list of prioritized ones ends. Matthew Henry's is not on my prioritizing list. So this one is. So somewhere around here, the software has ended my priority list and it's just dumping commentaries now. So from somewhere around here down, these are just commentaries that I own, that I have not prioritized. It doesn't mean I don't read them, but it means I don't necessarily care to know that they're at the top of the list. So I like Wiersbe, but I don't. If I want to see what Wiersbe says, I'll just scroll down until I see him. Anyway, there's my commentaries. How do I use them? Well, you open the commentary, and I'm going to also open my Bible and drag it over here. So I'll be reading along in the commentary on Isaiah 65, and I don't know, let's just, for the sake of the video, say, oh, here's something cool about that fortune and destiny, and I want to make sure that I have that, and I'm going to stop right there, and again, this is totally arbitrary. I'm going to copy that, and then this is about fortune and destiny, and so I'm going to go to where it talks about fortune and destiny. There they are. And I'm going to make a note. And that starts in verse 11. I could either make a note tied to the reference, or I could make a note tied to the actual word. So I'm going to make it tied to the actual word, and I'm going to add a note, and I'm going to make sure that I put it in my Isaiah 65-66 notebook. I only have to do that once. Now it knows, oh, you're taking notes there, and all the notes will show up there. And then I hit paste, and now there is my note, and my reference, and it is safely saved for me, tied to the word fortune. So I'm going to read through a bunch of commentaries, and I'm going to take notes this way in my text, and when I am done, I will show you what I've found. So it's commentary day. God bless you. I'm going to pause the video now and get to work. All right, so commentary day is over. There's not nearly as much visual cueing for you watching what happened, but I have spent the last 4 hours looking at the clock, interrupted by various things, but more or less for the last 4 hours I've been reading commentaries. I did open a couple of the paper ones on the shelf. Behind me, I read, of course, the print study notes in my Bible, but then most of the time has been spent going through the Logos software and going through my preferred commentaries on this area. So just looking at the text, you can see there's a lot more notes here, and these notes aren't just individual notes. If I saw another, source that talked about dust and the serpent's food, I would just make it follow on that note. So some of these notes are actually, 3, 4, 5, 6 references that I found that talked about the same thing, and I just copy pasted each note onto the same note so that I don't have a whole bunch of sticky things lining up on my page. But lots of commentary work has been done today. I do think I finally understood the parable here in 66:7 and following. I think I finally get it. And so one of the commentators that I read very convincingly argued that this is just God fulfilling his promises to Israel, that he had told them all through the Old Testament that they would have various promises, that they would have a land, that they would have a king, that there would be a people, that they would have peace, that they would be the head and not the tail, all these sorts of things. And God is saying, would I not have brought you all the way through history and not promised those, and not fulfilled those promises to you? And so that is God saying that I'm finally going to do all the things I said I was going to do for you, which is what the Messianic kingdom is all about, is God fulfilling his promises to Israel. So I made peace finally with Isaiah 66:7 and following, and I'm grateful for the commentary work that allowed me to do that. So, but the passage that I am going to be expositing again in 66 starts, right there at 15. So again, more notes all through that section. So that's what the Logos markup area looks like. You can see here, I forgot to add one note onto the tail of others, so I have 2 sticky notes. I've seen some people who make individual notes on everything, and then you can wind up with a whole big long string of sticky notes, and I just don't like the way it looks. So I tend to paste multiple notes onto one little sticky, just so that my visual reading doesn't get interrupted. Okay, that's what Logos looks like now. Let me show you my print Bible. Okay, a lot more black and blue. As I was going through the commentaries, it directed me to yet more cross-references and yet more original language stuff to be aware of, so black and blue notes have grown. You'll notice that there's also a lot more peach. Peach is my commentary notes, organizational notes, outline sort of notes. So that's the color that has been growing today. I chose my theme verse that I'm going to base everything on and tie everything back to, and that's kind of unsurprisingly chapter 65 verse 17, behold I make the new heavens and the new earth. So I underline that in peach, and I draw a little exclamation point on the side just so I can remember that's where I'm going to be basing my teaching from. And then I have decided on my points, and so I went ahead and wrote them here in the margin next to the verses that tie into them, and that continues here. And then I made myself a little note about this parable that has bothered me as I've been working on it now that I finally understand it. And then my second text it's going to be continuing point 4 from the stuff that I wrote on the other page. So there you go. I am all ready to write my Bible study notes, and that will be tomorrow.